Well, hi there, I'm Noah Bradley, and this is Handmade House TV. On this week's episode, I just wanted to wrap up our little series that we've been going through with regarding the use of slate on your future handmade home. So stay tuned. Well, all right, welcome back to our mini-series on installing slate. If you remember on our first episode, we went through all of the joys, the beautiful pros and only one con that I could come up with. And it's not much of a con with putting on a slate roof. The joy, the beauty of having your own slate roof and how to best acquire that. Not only looking for the perfect slate for your project, but also to get it at the best possible price that you can. And then in our second episode, we went through the tools that you would need and how to actually use those tools in order to work the slate so that it will go up on our house. So we're able to shape it and we're able to create the holes necessary for the nails to go through as we apply the slate to our roof. Now this week I just wanted to talk briefly about installing slate on your handmade project. And clearly there's a lot more depth to it. You can clearly people have been installing slate roofs for a lifetime, and they know more about it than I can possibly share here on Handmade House TV. Like any subject, it can get just as complicated as you want it to be. But for the most part, if you keep your project simple, installing slate is as simple as anything you'll do in building in the construction of your home. The first thing to keep in mind is whether or not you want to put a membrane underneath it, and we went through that on a previous episode, and I did install a membrane up here. The second thing is that you want to do is that you want to have your slate ready and easily handle. You want a good safe platform to work off of. The last thing I want to see any of you hurt installing your own roof. And then what you do is that you install the first row of slate, and instead of having them run up and down on the roof, you run them sideways on your roof. This creates a double first course to have on your home, which typically if you were to say bore a hole through a slate roof somewhere in the middle of it, you would find that the drill actually goes down through 3 layers of slate. It's a triple protection. It's the reason why slate roofs don't leak. But nonetheless, when you're starting out with that first course, there's no overlapping slate. So in order to cheat a little bit, what you're going to do is you're going to create a false first course. You're going to create this course where all the slates are run horizontally across the front of your roof. Now, if you're building a home, it's probably a good idea to put what's known as a drip edge, all the way around the circumference of your roof. Typically, we do this out of copper, and this creates more or less a drip edge, a firm edge that protrudes beyond the woodwork of your home. Typically an inch, maybe a little bit more if you're considering putting gutters on the front sides of your home. But a lot of people, myself included, kind of believe that actually slate roofing is its own drip edge because it's a rock, because it's strong. It's stronger than most drip edges that are used on, say, asphalt shingle roofs or any other kind of roof. Now, if you're going with a metal roof, the metal roof incorporates the drip edge into itself. And if you're doing a cedar or shake roof, you really need to do a drip edge, preferably out of copper. But on a slate roof, you really don't need one, and so I didn't apply one here. So after I got this first course laid, this preliminary course down, then I would lay the next course over top of it. Now, the one thing to keep in mind when you're putting down slate is that you never want the seams, the cracks between 2 different slates to line up with the cracks in the layer below. As long as you stick to that rule, you got 90% of the real justice that goes beyond putting down a roof. It just don't a crack over top of a crack. As long as you stagger them, you keep your cracks as far away from the previous course, then you're going to have a leak-proof roof. You really want to do your best to have 2 nails in each slate to hold it securely. Occasionally you can get by if you're only putting a small little piece of slate up there. You can get away with 1 nail. It's not a bad idea to have a tube of asphalt sealer caulk, scientific, the best, longest lasting black sealer that you possibly can in a caulk gun. Sometimes you have an application, a situation where a little bit of caulk will help secure a slate a little bit nicer. It will fill perhaps a nail hole that in a used slate that suddenly popped up, and it just makes your project easier to go through. It does not spoil the looks of it, and it ensures that you have a leak-proof roof for centuries to come. Now, one of the things that really grabs on to individuals who are installing a roof for the first time is that you're really shocked at how little coverage you get, because you're only typically leaving 1/3 of your slate exposed. You're covering 2/3 of it with the next course, and that's how we get 3 courses thick throughout the course of our roof. So when we examine a slate tile and we see how big it is, actually the coverage that we're going to get on our roof is 1/3 of that. So it ends up taking a whole lot more. Now, this is a tiny little log cabin that I've been working on here, and I think the total was 250 to 300 slates that it took in order to do just this little side here. So there's a lot of times where I wondered if I was ever going to finish it. It was a lot of little work going on, but it's very enjoyable work. One of the concerns in nailing down slate is exactly how hard, how firm to nail each particular piece, and this will come to you as you're nailing. The first thing that I would recommend is that you hold the slate where it's to properly lay, and you don't nail it hard enough so that it lifts up in any manner whatsoever. And also, you don't want to come shy on nailing it. You don't want the slate to be loose and floppy when you get finished nailing it. There's a nice sweet spot. There's a perfect spot to stop. All you got to do is break 1 or 2 of them, and you'll learn when not to nail it too tight, when the stopping point is. And of course, there's also the consideration in the slates how they lay out, how you end. And it never fails that some people are very concerned that every course is exactly right, that if they're spacing their spaces out. I think mine were 4 inches of exposure of each slate on the roof here, and some people, if they got to the top course and the top course was only 3 inches and it was 1 inch less than the rest of them, they would panic. So you can, if you choose to do the math and divide out the distance in order to determine exactly how much to space it apart so each particular course is laid. But for whatever reason, I've just always been real lucky with this, and I've always come to a really happy, sweet medium when I arrive at the top. Typically, when you get to the top, I like to put down a weatherproof membrane over top of the last course I lay on each side, and then I do a nice finished cap on the top of that, and I'll show you that in a future episode. So in order to mark out each course as it goes up, exactly how to line the courses up, it's best to use a chalk line, and we measure up and we measure exactly where the tops of each of our slates will come to, and then we just simply snap a line there. I like to use white chalk. Most carpenters use blue chalk, but I've always found that white chalk is a little less messy, a little bit more natural, and it shows up so well when you're using some kind of dark underlayment for your slate work, such as tar paper. Well, all right, that's it for this week's episode of Handmade House TV. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for going through this. I really hope you consider doing a slate roof on one of your buildings, on one of your log buildings, one of your sheds that you build out. Hopefully, you'll even consider it on your home. You will love it. People will arrive at your house and they will just think you have the most gorgeous home, and they won't be able to figure out why. And that's because when you're looking at your home, almost 1/3 to 1/2 of the visual presentation of it is your roof. It's a prominent feature, and people can tell asphalt paving versus natural handcrafted slate. There's just a world of difference, and it will make your project so much better. And if you take the time of doing the work yourself, of acquiring the material and actually putting it up yourself and seeking out used, by far you will get a roof below cost. This roof on this shed is costing me a lot less than if I had gone with an asphalt shingle roof, because I've done the work myself. I sought out used materials, and it really came out really sweet. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much. You take care. Come see me over on handmadehouses.com. Sign up for my free newsletter, and please consider signing up for one of my academy courses: Log Cabin Academy, Stone Mason Academy, Bootstrap Building Academy, where you can learn how to save money just like we did in the use of this slate here, and the upcoming Timber Frame Academy. I can't wait for that to start. It's going to be a great new year. Anyway, you guys take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.